Welcome to a new episode of XR and AI Spotlight, the show where we give the stage to the founders and creatives who are pushing the boundaries of XR and AI. My name is Gabriele Romagnoli, I'm your host, and I'm here today with Stefan, Marx, and Anne-Sophie Panzer. They are the co-founder of Zaubar, an AI-powered platform to augment reality at every location. Over the past year, Zaubar has worked with renowned brands such as Coca Cola, Siemens, Meissen, Borussia Dortmund, and several cultural and historical sites where they deploy treasure hunts and gamified AR experiences, adding a digital layer to any location. Recently, they announced a partnership with Deutsche Telekom to bring AR across Europe during the 2024 European Football Championship. Stay with us to learn how Zaubar worked with brands to gamify AR experiences.
We also did a project with Coca Cola. They did a huge wall painted in the brand of Coca Cola. And if you scan it then with the Zaubar technology, you can play a game and actually win a real Coke Zero that comes out of the wall.
An alternative to app and web-based augmented reality.
In general, instant apps and app clips, they have a size limit. So that's 15 megabytes right now on Android, and it's 50 megabytes on iOS. The code base, any kind of asset needs to be optimized. So that's why we are also combining web technologies to make that possible.
And the approach Zaubar is taking to enable AR content creation powered by artificial intelligence.
So we've been heavily working with generative AI since end of 2022. We found that there are multiple ways how we can use generative AI to create.
But before we get into it, I want to thank our sponsor Cognitive 3D who made this episode possible. Cognitive 3D is a spatial analytic platform to improve how organizations can analyze user behavior in VR and AR and turn the findings into actionable insights. Cognitive 3D has a handy SDK that integrates easily in Unity and Unreal. Data are collected and displayed in 3D contextually to help you improve user engagement and retention. Whether you are designing training and simulation, running consumer research, or creating games and entertainment content, Cognitive 3D will change the way you track and learn from your data. Head to cognitive3d.com to learn more. And now, it's time for Stefan and Anne-Sophie to step into the spotlight.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I mean, let's not act like nothing is happening. We have here, Stefan has his own persona. So I think it might be a first where we have really like a podcast with a digital representation of one of the guests. So Stefan, really, first of all, tell us, how does it feel?
Sorry, Gab, what do you mean? This is how I look all the time. No, I'm officially joining as a persona. So I'm here on the version 1.0 of the first VOS, of Apple, in the Vision Pro, and this is how my second scan looks. Anne-Sophie, what do you think? Does it fit me?
I mean, we talked about this earlier, and you said there's already another beta version that makes you look better. But you were afraid to install it because you read on some blog that it broke the Vision Pro for some guy, and we bought it in the US, so it's hard to go to the Apple Store and say, "Can you please repair my glasses?"
Yeah, because it's not yet launched in Germany, so.
Yes. So I think we're going to start discussing about this, of course, when we are, let's say, a bit more into it. But you guys are basically big players when it comes to augmented reality on mobile devices. And it's not just augmented reality that is on your desk, on your room, in a building, but it's like at every location for a purpose. Maybe I would like to tell us more about Zaubar, and in general, where do we stand with augmented reality on mobile devices right now?
Yeah, maybe I can go ahead and start. Zaubar is a startup that Anne-Sophie and me founded 4.5 years ago. Here also in Berlin. By now we have a team spread out all over the world, but half of the team is still in Berlin. We are 18 people now, and we've been partnering with more than 50, much bigger companies by now, and help them to unlock their actual physical locations. So what we do is we go to the locations. For example, it could be a museum, but also a soccer stadium. Then we use augmented reality to unlock new products, new stories, also history at the place, and have various ways to engage users to increase the brand value or the brand loyalty or even remonetize. Yeah, and maybe Anne-Sophie, you want to mention a few projects we did or some use cases?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, most of our projects are related to historical topics, which I like a lot because I'm a historian and I have a master's degree in political science. So, for example, a very cool project that will be released this spring is located actually in a castle ruin in Western Germany. It's a ARPG, we call it, you can rent a tablet there and then walk through the castle and discover the castle, how it looked 500 years ago, and all the characters are actually playable. So you can they were filmed on a green screen, so they are flat, but they stand in front of you in real life size, and you can talk to them, and you get tasks to solve and items to collect. And so you play your way through the castle ruins up to the highest tower. It's pretty cool. Besides, our last project was released in December in 2023. It was our first indoor navigation project in the Hochbahn Hamburg, which is the underground metro of the city of Hamburg. And this was very cool because we did our second project already with AppClip and Instance App. So this is a technology where the user gets the full app experience, like the AR that has all the advantages of an app, but you don't need to actually download an app, or it doesn't feel like downloading an app, because you only need to scan a QR code, and then you instantly enter the app. No, it's not web-based. That's
okay. That is an interesting
thing. It's actually it's the advantage. That's what I meant with the advantages of an app. So it's actually an app that is installed on your phone, but it doesn't feel like getting an app installed, because you scan the QR code and then some small thing pops up from the bottom, fills half of your page. It's called AppClip for iOS and Instant App on Android. And and then you can instantly enter the experience. And the project was about a very infamous underground station in Hamburg, Jungfernstieg, which has actually 22 exits, and it's called the Maze, also by people from Hamburg, because nobody ever seems to find the correct exit at the first try.
What we are seeing, because you ask about the state of mobile AR, right? In terms of smartphones, what we are seeing is that especially the younger people, they are very accustomed now to AR and also using AR on the go, which is amazing for us, because this is what we've been doing for the last years. We also did a project with Coca Cola where we did a partnership with a graffiti mural agency here in Berlin. They did a huge wall painted in the brand of Coca Cola. And if you scan it then with the Zaubar technology, it comes alive and you can play a game and actually win a real Coke Zero that comes out of the wall. And, passers by, we actually had a conversion rate of 7% of people walking by and trying it out. And they really got lost in it, playing in AR. And so we really see that reality and internet is merging now, and it's exciting.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so, okay, now I've got so many questions about so many things. So, the first one being this app clip, because I believe that being able to run this without necessarily downloading an app, formally an app, it's a great advantage. So, starting from a QR code, maybe starting from there and then going into what are the advantages, what are you seeing, the type of contents that resonate more with user. But before on this app clip, so what are some of the trade-off that you have to make or adjustments that you need to make to your own experience, if any, when using this instead of web AR or just a standard app?
Yeah, in general, instant apps and app clips, they have a size limit. So that's 15 megabytes right now on Android, which probably gets changed in the future, and it's 50 megabytes on iOS, right? So the code base, any kind of asset needs to be optimized in order to fit in this tight package. So that's why we are also combining web technologies on top of native code to make that possible. Anything that is displayed is of course streamed. Also, game mechanics that might be chosen for a project are developed in a dynamic way, so they can be loaded in. Yeah, this is kind of a trade-off. So it's you need to develop a kind of platform and content management system around it, which we've been doing at Zaubar. So that's why it kind of nicely comes together. But you have the advantage of very strong AR tracking technology, because in terms of web AR, it is sometimes not that stable, and especially VPS, so outside tracking in the streets based on Street View, for example, is not possible yet in the web. And even if it would be, it's probably not that stable yet.
Yeah.
So,
Anne-Sophie, you wanted to add something, I think.
Yeah, I wanted to add that especially for this project and the indoor navigation with the Hamburger Hochbahn, it was super important that the tracking was perfect, because imagine this is an underground train station. At some points in this train station, they have these small houses where the people from the U-Bahn store things, and there's only like 1 meter and 20 centimeters space from the small house until the railway begins. And so this is super important. And we actually had to, so when people came too close to the railway, we would immediately block the AR. So the AR turns off and the screen shows stop. This is a dangerous area. Don't go any further.
Yeah, we don't want to be liable for anybody dropping on the
this was super important. This is really no joke. We had to install like a button for their security center, where they could immediately block the app and kick out all the users which are live in the app right now in case of fire or any emergency, so that no person would ever you cannot even not even theoretically you can let a person be able to play or to be further in AR when like any accident is happening. So
absolutely. And this also brings up an important thing that already came let's say across in the conversation, and that is like the importance of developing and designing an augmented reality experience that is not just in your room, but is just in a bigger area, right? You mentioned a castle, you mentioned an underground location, you mentioned a street. So maybe you can help us understand what are the challenges when bringing augmented reality to any venue, to any location at such a scale.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at first, the first challenge, which is also an adventure, and why we founded Zaubar, is it is not online. It's out there in the real world. So we need to go there, which is a part of the job that we really enjoy, to go there and check out the place, get a feeling for it, and to create digital experiences that are actually anchored there technically, but that are also living in the space, that are contextual. because we always set out to do all of this to not create AR that is just a gimmick, like a simple face mask or similarly. So a big challenge is getting there and understanding the place, mapping it out, creating, technically a 3D map. And then what Anne-Sophie is doing and helping with is to figure out what kind of story to tell or what kind of game to offer that fits, that spatially fits. And that kind of connects also to what Apple is calling their headset in terms of spatial computing, because it is a new kind of thinking about computing and storytelling and, offering a digital experience because it needs to fit the surrounding and interact with it. Yeah.
And so maybe, Anne-Sophie, like some of these example about experiences and content, what are some of the things that you have learned? For example, when working with brands and deploying this sort of gamified experience, ultimately, right?
I mean, as Stefan said, the one challenge is always you have to go there and you have to understand the place, learn, like talk to the people who are working there and find out what is the story that this place is already telling. It is also the fun part. And you actually have to go there and you learn so much. Besides, I mean, Stefan, right now, in the beginning, we talked about this and we laughed about this first version of this digital character.
Which one? What are you talking about?
I don't know. So, and we know that this is only the beginning, but it's already so cool. I mean, we are waiting for the second glasses to be shipped to us. And so we are already imagining Stefan and I sit together in in the virtual space collaborating, working together. But right now, we're still working with mostly mobile phones, mobile devices, tablets, because this is what most of the people have in their pockets and have in their use in their everyday life. But this hardware still has its limitations, and this is something you have to work with. And
I would say,
Mm-hmm.
I would say because it is AR is it's very cutting edge, state of the art, always evolving and very dependent on the hardware. That's why the user experience and the how quick the experience should be able to start, etc., is very important. So that's also why, thinking of for example, the Hamburg Metro project, you walk, you get out of the train, then you see a poster at the wall with a QR code. People understand QR code means, I can get an experience quickly. You scan it, and then it immediately opens up. And then you are thrown into the experience, and the tutorial is very interactive along the way. So there are not like 10 screens that you click through. There's no onboarding in that case. Something that we also learned during the years. That is, for example, a big learning for us. People want to, get quick into AR and then have a gamified experience, even if the background is educational. Right, so we did quite a few museum experiences, memorial site experiences, also in concentration camps, and even in these environments, it is important and possible to have somewhat gamified or interactive pieces to onboard the user and let them play with it, because AR is a new way of interacting with the world. That's why it's called also spatial computing. So it's also a new way how all of this stuff is done for the new generation, which is not as text-based anymore. It's very visual, very 3D, moving a lot. So and now we could go step by step through the project if you would like to know some more insights. Yeah.
I just wanted to have a quick break to remind you that the recording of these episodes and many more great conversation with incredible experts are available on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Just head over to my profile or in the episode description below and pick the platform you prefer. And now let's get back to the show. Yeah. So at first, it's like I also wanted to know your take when it comes to the Vision Pro and its uses outdoor, right? I mean, we have seen a lot of memes everywhere. You guys have it now in your hands. You had the chance to try it out a bit. And the question is, how do you see this new hardware uh, really reaching the streets? Do you see that at all or not? Is that just a meme? Is that just a gimmick? What's your take?
It's definitely not just a meme. Even if, I mean, it's, of course, it's funny. It's even funny to see Stefan, seeing Stefan right now wearing the goggles. But this new hardware is such a, like, yesterday evening, I was sitting down and just watching spatial videos that we recorded since November last year, from when it was possible to record spatial videos, actually. And it's such a cool feature. I can already see myself in 5 and 10 years watching back in time, because this spatial video is just really just it's a more immersive feeling.
No, but
And
that I get it. That I get it. The point is,
yeah,
do you see that happening in the open? Because that's also one of the core things that you guys are doing, and you're doing very well.
absolutely.
And that is
Yeah,
augmented reality. So how is that
yeah.
gonna happen? How is that gonna happen?
I think it's going to start now as part of group experiences, where where such a device is handed out. You know, we remember the Segway tours, you know, in the city, where you are handed one of these fancy robot bicycles 10 years ago that were balancing themselves before the e-scooter. So I could imagine that, you know, at first these devices are handed out as kind of a museum experience or a cultural experience, you know, like an audio guide now. In fact, in the Stasi prison here in Berlin, this is done with one of our experiences. People receive an iPad Pro. So similarly, you would get at first a headset indoors, so inside of a museum, and then it would trickle outdoors. I mean, right now the glasses are not super well made for outdoor use. We've been doing some tests so far, and we are also releasing projects and experiments around it. But the next iterations definitely will be once they are getting a bit lighter and, you know, a bit thinner. Then I can see that really well, you know.
So you think that right now, when you say it's not well made, it's about the weight and the thickness, the comfort. Are those some of the things that you are referring to?
Yeah, it's the comfort, the weight, also you know, how the Vision OS is set up right now. At some point, the windows are kind of disappearing and hiding, and they're also not really you know, floating alongside you while you walk. So
Right.
it's just when you are in a train and you enter something called travel mode, you know, they are kind of set, but it's not set up for that yet. Yeah.
So it's not set up to be anchored to the real world. It's set up to be around the core users in a standing position, except you are traveling, then you set up travel mode, but then it's a different kind of objective.
Yeah. I think the perfect environments for the device, as far as I know right now, would be in a moving vehicle where you would have to have some really cool entertainment and your own, you know, personal space that you would like to get into. So, like, for example, flying on the airplane and you know, being in an economy class, but feeling you kind of protected, and also on the go, maybe in a hotel room, doing some remote work where you can, you know, pin many screens around you and have a
Right.
very productive session, which is actually so far the best use case, you know, for productivity.
So I wanted to go back a little to the work that you're doing at Zaubar, and more specifically to the way you work with brands. So let's say that a client approaches, hey, we want to have AR in our spaces, like how does that work? How is the content, for example, that lives in AR produced? Is that something that you do by yourself? You contract someone? Is something that they provides? Because content at the end is what drives engagement. What's Zaubar's solution to that?
Yeah. So traditionally, we've been doing the full service thing where we've been pitching the client, we've been doing a concept, we've been then getting the contract and developing the content and distributing everything. But now in the last year, we've been successfully onboarding also agencies and external content creators that work, with our SDK, with our platform, with our, way of creating the content, and help us to do such content creation. For example, there might be the creation of a mini game needed. And then as we are working with Unity, we can work with external Unity developers or external agencies who have already created such games or can create that. And the other part is the use of generative AI. So we've been heavily working with generative AI since end of 2022. And this is, of course, very valuable for AR. The content creation for AR is difficult. And we found that there are multiple ways in which we can uniquely use. Sorry, now I looked at the mute button. There are multiple ways how we can use generative AI in a unique way that not many other people have done to create AR content for our clients. And we are releasing them actually pretty soon. So we cannot mention and talk so much about it. But yeah, it's in several ways how 3D AR content can be created very, very quickly, but still with creative input by the client, specifically by enterprise clients.
And this is another interesting point you make me think. What about, is that something that is just client facing, or the user himself can be part of this generative AI process? Have you thought about it?
Yeah, it's both. Like, but if we are a B2B software as a service solution. So if we allow the audience to create content, it must be brand safe, right? So it must be okay for the brand, whatever is created, and it must look like the brand. So these are two things that are one is easier than the other, but two are very important to fix. And that's what we've been working on a lot also in the last months. But yeah, we definitely see a lot of value and get also these kind of, we are approached by bigger brands right now is exactly because they want to do that, to have their audiences create really next gen content and have
So, and
engaging
maybe
experiences.
what can you share regarding that generative AI process? I mean, maybe you said that it's still you cannot say much, but wondering from what type of content, how is that integrated? Maybe you can give us a more descriptive overview of where you guys stand right now.
Yeah, it's basically we are focusing on outdoor use cases, right? That's our passion and our niche. And that's what we really love to do. So you can think of various ways how digital content could be displayed outdoors, in relationship to buildings, for example, or to open spaces. And yeah, we've been grouping all the different things that things could be done in that area, and then we've been creating kind of AI templates. So you would say, I want to create such a kind of maybe virtual sculpture, and then there are then several ways how this could be done, and we offer several UX elements or interface aspects to fine tune it. So that on one hand, maybe an audience member could do it, but also maybe someone in the marketing team of a brand. or of an agency that the brand is working with. This is kind of how we are thinking about it. Yeah.
Okay. So in one of the, I've also recently I've seen that you guys have announced this collaboration with Deutsche Telekom, and I wanted to know a little bit more about it. What does it mean Zaubar is going to power the digital layer for the 2022 European football championship? How is this project going to be about?
We cannot say so much about these things as well. What we can say is we've been working a lot with the telecom. They are very interested in exploring, of course, these new technologies. Also very interested in generative AI because similarly to what I mentioned before, they are looking for new ways to engage their audiences, to get them, back into the offerings that they have, and it just makes us in general very, very happy that kind of now, maybe also due to Apple, that AR really got a bigger spotlight now, and that bigger brands and also consumers are excited about it. So, so it will be a very cool year, I think, for the whole industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there is no bad publicity in a way. So I think every time that there is this resonance and people showing and talking about this new way of consuming and even creating digital content, I think that's exciting. And I was also wondering because at the end, as you mentioned, being B2B focused, right? At the end, we are always talking about return for the brand, right? In terms of conversion, in terms of engagements. And you mentioned some example, for example, from Coca Cola, right? A project that you did. So maybe I would like to know what are some of the pattern that you are seeing when it's about using this digital content as part of these campaigns that indeed happens then on the real world, on venues, on the street.
If you mean what we see when we look at the analytics, right? How are users engaging with the content? And
this could be one way, and the kind of also advantages that the brands, and sometimes could be quantitative, sometimes they can be qualitative, I can imagine, right? It's not just numbers and clicks. So what are the things that you are observing?
Yeah, definitely. We did. It's cool that you asked that. We just did such a very in-depth analytics with the Hamburger Hochbahn, which is the metro stations in Hamburg.
So did people manage to find the exit? Because that's, I think, the most important KPI.
Before they were actually all stuck down there, thousands of people. They've definitely found the exit. What's funny? Anne-Sophie, maybe you have the exact numbers, but on one hand, the social media analytics, right? So there were videos created for these experiences. Users created experiences, videos, then influencers created videos. We had multiple millions of views, for example, just on these videos. This was quite insane. And also thousands and thousands of comments, right? And we did exactly qualitative analysis on these comments. We did user research, and people asked on one hand, so in general it was positive, right? Some people said, of course, what do we need? Why do you need this for? Why do you spend money on AR? Print some more signs. But and then they said, yeah, we already do that. And generally, of course, people liked it, especially the generation, the Gen Z that we attracted with that. And they asked to have much more functionality, right? For example, low barrier features, right? For example, how can I find an exit with a taxi? How can I find the exit that brings me to such and such shop? So they are thinking in terms of how can this actually augment my whole experiences of walking through the city, and that's what we learned from there. And this is also something that we would like to continue developing. with these kind of brands. And and in terms of usage, we also saw that if you have an AR experience that has also a utility, that is not just a gimmick, people will happily spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes in it, which is a long time on the go, at a spot where you as a distributor of the experience know exactly where they are and can help them even more. For the Coca Cola project, we had people who were playing for 15 minutes, engaging with the brand for 15 minutes in front of the retail location. So that's a big plus, and it can definitely be turned into brand engagement and remonetization. Yeah.
And what I was also wondering is maybe from, again, a bit of a customer journey and a storytelling perspective. So we now see these experiences that start in the real world, and at some point they kind of end in that real world, right? Thanks to augmented reality. But do you see these journeys kind of like moving across location? So I've done this experience with Coca Cola on the streets. Then I'm going home, and maybe something happens on my mobile app or then on my screen, and then I have another experience in my living room that I can share maybe with someone that lives with me. So I'm talking like, how do you see these digital experiences evolving and blending from the street to the digital medium that we already consume and maybe to other locations?
I guess that's what they call the metaverse.
I didn't want to say it. But I wanted to make it clear and more tangible, because every time we talk about metaverse, then it's all and tends to be very, very, everything is everything. It's something that I personally don't like. So when we think about a brand experience that moves across location, moves across digital spaces, how do you see that happening for a brand in the next year or 2 or 5?
Yeah, I think that's also getting back to the Vision Pro. Actually, as I'm actually sitting in it right now, I can. It's kind of how it's turning things that have not been spatially. So right now, for example, I'm looking at the app, the iPad app of this stream podcast, videocast platform, but it's just anchored here in space. So I can put you anywhere here on the ceiling, and so it already became spatial now. What used to be 2D, and I think all the different offerings that a brand has could step by step be spatially, anchored and contextualized. And then at some point, it's a way of living. There will no turning back. Because people will wear these glasses. They will be very light, very cool, much better than other devices. So the content must adapt.
So, I mean, guys, I wanted to thank you for the conversation and the contribution. And I'm curious, maybe to learn a bit more. What will you focus on for this year? So you mentioned you just had some big project, underground castles. You have this one line up for the European Football Championship. So what's next for Zaubar?
Yeah, many different projects. We've got approached by many brands and also museums, cultural institutions that would like to bring AR to their places. So we are focusing on that. In general, we are going to build out our platform, and we'll also have a public release so that anybody can try it out and play with it and create kind of trial experiences to get to know us better. And that's the big goal for us this year.
Awesome. So, guys, I mean, again, thank you very much, Anne-Sophie. Thank you very much, Stefan, or to your persona, whoever now I feel like thanking, I'm not sure. But I certainly want to a lot of insight, and really looking forward to see Zaubar on any street.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Trying to make a heart.
I don't see it. Oh, yes. Now I do.
Yay!
Thank you very much,
Gabs. Goodbye.
Thank you very much for listening in. If you enjoyed the conversation, remember to head to YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts for more insightful conversation revolving around XR and AI. And if you like the show, please leave a rating on Spotify. It really helps me keep doing this and shine the spotlights on the latest and greatest founders and creative in XR and AI. Till next time.